You take that same kind of I guess energy and that into these personal meetings with these CEOs that you work with? I mean, is it the same kind of energy and flow and with the groups that you work with?
Well, so it's not so much about the physical flow as it is at an event, but it is very much about getting excited about the future and being able to envision something that's remarkable and then being able to see the steps that need to be put in place to make that happen. Just for example, I was the change lead on a $20 million change initiative at Royal Dutch Shell. And we were looking at installing technology down in the ground in oil and gas fields so that we could do a better job of mapping the underground wells and then do a better job of extracting what was down there. And at the time we were doing this, it was new, right? So it was a different way to do oil and gas harvesting. It was exciting because it was good for the environment. It meant that they were going to be poking less holes in the ground and doing a better job of extracting what was out there. But it was a massive program and it required a lot of people to participate. There was major pockets of resistance. There were issues around doing it. And when I would get together with the lead, Tom was his name, we would sit there and sometimes in his conference room for 2 or 3 hours at a stretch and just map stuff out on this whiteboard. And every once in a while we'd step back and we'd realize that we were creating the future of the largest energy company in the world. And there was like this kind of electric current, this excitement around what we were doing. So I bring that to working with CEOs. It's like trying to imagine what's possible. How do we get there? If we were going to be world class, what would it look like? And there's a current, an electric current that goes along with that I think we're cultivating together.
And it's incredible being able to work with some of these just top CEOs of these companies and really get some insight into what makes them tick, and then also bring your expertise to the table and bring those together and make it all work.
It's really exciting for me. I feel like I have a dream job. I mean, I didn't know anything about oil and gas before I started working for Shell, and I spent 2.5 years really getting into the nitty-gritty of what it's like to be on a rig out in the middle of the North Sea or the Gulf of Mexico, understanding what undersea robots do, looking at maps, three-dimensional maps, understanding how the organization works, and then the next day I'll be working with the National Apartment Association, or I'll be working with HR Certification Institute, or I'll be working with nurses, or I'll be working with cardiologists. And so it's like every day I just get to go into these other worlds. And the person who I'm going into these worlds with is somebody who is actually being creative and generating the future. So it's like I'm side by side with a woman or man who is part of building the next stage of our world. So it's very exciting for me.
And in that, when you're working with people like that and you're helping them to guide them in the direction that they want to go and taking all these ideas and bringing them all together and being a part of that. How do you see that as when they start to actually put that message out there and they start to have a presence out that they want to put out as a public thing? How important do you think that awareness, or like you talk about in your book about that value that they have, like how important do you feel that is?
Oh, I think it's extremely important. You're working with so many stakeholders as the CEO that you have to give a really clear message of the future that you're trying to create. I remember working with Doug Culkin at the National Apartment Association, and I was doing a board presentation based on the results of the business intelligence report that I had done. And the board and the executive committee really embraced it. And the phrase came up, and I don't believe it was my phrase, I think it came from the executive committee, we're moving from first class to world class. And it really caught on. And then we had to say, well, what exactly does that mean? And the National Apartment Association is first class at what it does. It's the best. It's the best in the world at what it does. But it's not world class yet. It doesn't have the same customer service that Nordstrom's has. It doesn't have the same kind of data mining that REI has. So to go to world class, there's this other level that has to be developed. So it's a very exciting journey to be on. I started hearing this phrase, first class to world class, first class to world class. And it was like everywhere, and people started telling me what it meant. And then one day I came into the office at the National Apartment Association's headquarters, and it was like etched on the glass. We're going from first class to world class. So he's picked up that message that resonated with his leaders, and he's reflecting it back, and we're now working that message, and we're creating energy, enthusiasm, momentum around it, and now we have hundreds of people who are working together. It's not us orchestrating it, it's a collective, and they're moving this organization to another level of performance, their organization. And it's through being very clear about that message, the way that you described it.